Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today's video, we've got a Getting Started with Warhammer Age of Sigmar video for you, and today we're going to be looking at the Slaves of Darkness, and in particular, the Idolators sub-faction. In this video, we're going to go through exactly what we get with a Slaves to Darkness Idolators sub-faction army, and we'll look at all the sort of rules and stuff we get from being part of that army, and then we'll look at units we can grab to start off our Idolators force, and then units we can also expand upon to build our Idolators force closer to a fuller army. We'll then also give you a little sample army list at the end of the video, which you can use to either copy straight up or use as some inspiration to get your own Idolators list on the table and playing. With that said and out the way though, let's talk about what exactly we get for being an Idolators sub-faction army. And the first thing to look at is we are a Slaves to Darkness army. So we're a sub-faction of the army. This means we're going to get the Slaves to Darkness battle traits to begin with. First of all, we're going to get the Aura of Chaos ability, which is pretty much a sort of ability where we give marks to our characters, and then units with said marks around them get these other cool abilities when the characters are near them. And they get extended ranges and additional buffs if that character happens to also be the general. We then also get the Damned Legions rules, where after you've chosen your Slaves to Darkness Legions, you can choose the Damned Legions keyword from all the choice, and in this case we've chosen the Idolators. There are other Slaves to Darkness sub-factions you can look at, and we will take a look at all of those in turn. And then we've also got the Eye of the Gods ability, where at the end of the combat phase, if any attacks made by a friendly Slave to Darkness hero that has the Eye of the Gods keyword destroyed any enemy heroes or monsters, you can make a roll on the Eye of the Gods table. This can potentially turn you into a Demon Prince, turn you into a Chaos Spawn, or give you all manner of buffs. And then we start looking at the Idolators' specific abilities. And the first one we get is we get Blessed of Chaos, where we add one to the prayer rolls for all Idolator priests. Now, that may sound weird, because obviously there is only the Chaos War Shrine for a priest for Slaves to Darkness, but we also get a Chaos Chariot Lord that in turn becomes a priest. This is called an Idolator Lord in the rules. He essentially gets to become a priest, and he is automatically one of the unit champions as well, and so he just gets some cool extra stuff there. He'll get access to a bunch of Idolator prayers that only he has access to, and he gets the prayer that he has the mark of. So if he has Mark of Tzeentch, he will get the Blessing of Tzeentch prayer for the army. We also get bonuses for fighting other priests. I mean, this is very niche of a rule, but add one to wound rolls if any Idolator models target a priest, which is cool. And then we get the Desecrate command ability as well for use across the army, where we can pick one friendly Idolator's unit, hold within 12 inch of an Idolator Lord, and within 3 inch of a terrain feature that is part of the enemy's army. You can then roll a dice. If the roll is greater than the number of enemy models within 3 inch of that terrain feature is desecrated, and it pretty much can't do anything for the rest of the game. With that said, that's everything we get for being Idolators, besides some cool command traits that we get in addition, but you can have a look through them yourself. If you're looking for the rules for Idolators 2, they are not in the Slaves to Darkness Battle Tome. They are in the Broken Realms Morathi book, which at the moment you can find on the Warhammer Age of Sigmar app for free to look at. And so, where to begin? Well, I think the first thing to look at to begin with is a Chaos Chariot. Now, I prefer the Chaos Gorebeast Chariot. I think that is my preferred one of the model, but it does not have to be the Gorebeast. You can pick either of the two chariot variations I have. I think the Gorebeast just has a little bit more punch to it, though, with the giant Gorebeast at the front, so you will get to pick to have one of the champions on top, which is really cool, and this will be your Idolator Lord. It's really sort of important to have this. It is a lot of what the army sort of focuses around. Now, we're going to look at Chaos Cultists, because in Idolators they obviously all become Battleline, and with the updates from the Slaves to Darkness White Dwarf Battle Tome update, which we have a review for, which I'll link at the top of the video at some point, we have the ability to give all of them marks as well. Now, the Iron Golems I really like. They got a 4-up save base, and they also get +1 to save if they haven't moved or weren't set up in that turn. So they're a great anvil unit for our cultists. They've also got a giant ogre in there, the Ogre Breacher, which has some additional wounds in there, so you can get quite a lot of wounds in a Iron Golems unit for a very decent cost. Untamed Beasts are another unit of Cultists I really like, and probably one of the two mainstay ones I think are the best of the Cultist bunch. Untamed Beasts have a pre-game move. This just gives you some good screening ability and some good pre-game movement, potentially even taking objectives early game and forcing your opponent to actually come and take them off you is really nice. Lastly, Splintered Fangs. This is a Cultist unit that does mortal wounds. So every attack 6 to hit, they do mortal wounds, which is pretty nice for a Cultist unit. You've not got a lot of ways to get mortal wounds out of a lot of the Cultist units, so I do think Splintered Fang certainly have a very important place within the army as well. But these are my first 3 sort of Cultist units we picked to have a look at, but where can we expand this force after we've got these first couple of units? And so we go on to the other type of Cultist units. First of all, we start looking at the Unmade. The Unmade are one of, I guess, the more sort of techie style Cultist units. While Iron Golems are just defensive, Untamed Beasts are pre-game move, and you've got Mortal Wounds out of Splintered Fang. The two I'm going to mention here, the Unmade, first of all, out of those two, are much more techie. So the Unmade's ability is enemy units can't retreat whilst within 3 inches of them. This can be really cool. A small unit of Unmade hitting around the flanks, tying your opponent up while they're, say, in combat with something like Iron Golems that they're really struggling to deal with, can be a really great combination for the army. And they just give you some really cool utility for what they are. I do think they're one of the nice utility pieces. We then look at the Dark Oath Chieftain, who is a cool character model, and I love his Last Gasp for Glory command ability that he has on his War Scroll, where he can pick a friendly Chaos Marauder or Cultist unit within 12 inches of this model, and they can fight before they die. This is particularly cool on something like the Splintered Fang, where you're potentially doing mortal wounds when you die. He himself, he's not too terrible. 3 attacks with his Broadsword, 4's 3's Ren 1, damage 2 is really nice, and he does add 3 attacks to his Broadsword if he charges, so suddenly becomes 6 attacks, 4s and 3s, Ren 1, damage 2. He can be a nice little killer missile, and if he's left alone and against some sort of chaff units of your opponent's army, he will destroy them probably pretty easily. Talking about another sort of techie unit we have available to us in the Cultist range, we have the Cypher Lords. So Cypher Lords have a cool ability where they can potentially put out some -1s to hit. They pick one enemy unit within 3 inch of them at the start of the combat phase, and on a 4+, you subtract 1 from hit rolls for the enemy unit. So some nice minuses to hit there on the Cypher Lords is pretty nice. While not guaranteed, it's another little techie sort of piece you can have to your army. Small units of these and small units of the Unmade, as mentioned, can just be some nice techie pieces for the force. Lastly, we have the Chaos War Shrine. The Chaos War Shrine is, of course, a priest, and in Idolators, it becomes a character as well. So you can definitely make some really tough priests with this in your army. So the big thing about the Chaos War Shrine is, first of all, he has the Protection of the God Stuck ability, where he puts out a 6+ ward to friendly mortal slaves to darkness units wholly within range of his ability, which at the start, when he's not damaged, is 18 inch, but it can drop down all the way to 3. Which will pretty much just be himself. And then he's got Favourite of the Ruinous Powers, where at the start of the hero phase you can say this model will chant one of the following prayers. And so he can put out a different prayer. Now he has prayers that are marked by all the different gods, but it doesn't have to go on the particular god marked model that the prayer is from. So you can put the Mark of Nurgle prayer on, a corn unit and stuff like that. But that's everything I reckon we suggest to grab to start up your Idolators force. Let's look at a little sample army list we put together of 1,000 points to see how it can all come together. And so here we have a little sample of 1,000 point army list of Idolators. We obviously are going to be playing in Idolators subfaction of Slaves to Darkness for this army list. And so we've gone for the grand strategy, Pillars of Belief, because, it's our priests. If our priests are dying, our Idolators are sort of falling apart. So it's a little bit narrative there. A Triumph is not likely to get, we're 1,000 points, so we're never going to get it. In fact, if you ever sort of change this list around, I do reckon the +1 to wound is a really solid Triumph for the force. And then, looking at our leaders, we've got our Idolator Lord on a Gorebeast Chariot. He's going to be our general, and he's got the command trait Smite the Unbeliever, so he's got an extra 2 attacks with his Giant Great Weapon. This, I just think, is nice. This allows him to be a little bit of a killing model, and then Vial of Manticore Venom on there to put +1 to wound, meaning he can sort of go to +1 to hit, +1 to wound. He'll be 3s and 2s on that big axe of his. I think this just nicely makes him able to do some damage for the army as well as be a priest. Mark of Chaos Tzeentch is what we've gone, and then of course he gets the Blessing of Tzeentch. I like the Mark of Chaos Tzeentch. Rerolling once to save is really, really nice. And the Dark Oath Chieftain, we've then got Mark of Khorne. This is of course for reroll once to hit. And then an Idolator Chaos War Shrine, Mark of Tzeentch again, and the Universal Prayer Scripture Heal. The reason we've gone for Heal here is to make sure we can keep both the War Shrine and our Gorby's Chariot alive. Battle line wise for the army, we've got 16 Iron Golems. This is going to be our big anvil unit, and they've got the Mark of Tzeentch because putting rerolls to save on that unit is just awesome. And then 2 units of 9 Untamed Beasts, both with Mark of Khorne, probably because they're going to be more aggressive. This is going to allow our army to sort of spread out and just sort of put some screens and some early pressure on our opponents, taking objectives and taking key locations across the battlefield. 20 Splintered Fang are going to be an interesting unit for the army as they're going to allow us to do some mortal wounds. And they've got Mark of Khorne, so they're going to be tagging up with our Dark Oath Chieftain. And then we've got a unit of Unmade and a unit of Cypher Lords in there as well. These are going to be little techie pieces we can use. Probably the Cypher Lords and the Unmade holding back, sort of utilising them alongside our Iron Golems. Most of the army, except the Cypher Lords unit, are wrapped up in a Battle Regiment. We don't quite have enough space in that Battle Regiment, so we are going to be a 2-drop army, which is fine. But we have 97 wounds, which is a lot of wounds on the table for this points value. So there's definitely a lot of points to wound ratio in the army, which is really, really nice. Just getting a lot of wounds, it's going to be a lot for our opponent to have to choose through. If you've been playing with Idolators in Age of Sigmar 3rd Edition, let us know how you've been going. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts down in the comments below on the Idolators. I absolutely love the Cultist models, and an army that can focus around them is just amazing. Well, that's the end of the video. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed it, please leave a comment below and let us know what you enjoyed about the video. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and turn those bell notifications on so you don't miss a beat when we upload new stuff to the channel. Lastly, if you'd like to help support the channel in another way, you can do so either by helping support the channel on Patreon or YouTube members. This allows us to continue to make new content for the channel, exploring other game systems outside of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, like we have started to with things like Elder Scrolls: A Call to Arms and Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings and Warhammer 40,000. And it helps us just continue to make more Age of Sigmar content as well. Thank you to, though, everyone who has helped support, and we'd like to give them all a shout out to our patrons. First of all, Christian Weir, James Soren, Greenskins Gaming, AJC, Kenny Lowe, Outer and Shop First, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, Anton Nilsson, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, and Samuel. And to our YouTube members as well, Green Roots Gaming, Kenton Young, Chris Wallace, Ronya, Vinny Lockloric, The Journey 84, David Ellsworth, Revenar, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Sean Scott, and Diplomat. And a special thank you, of course, to, first of all, Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel you see here, and to Xmorphic, who does all the awesome background work on our Discord server, keeping that nice and running properly for us all. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Once again, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against Grey. Ciao for now.